I was the first in Italy 30 years ago to begin to prepare the charcuterie of the fish, I salumi di pesce. For example, tuna bresaola or tuna swordfish, mortadella with cuttlefish and swordfish, the sausages with sea bass, and the coppa. Coppa is prepared with the head of the pork, and I prepared with the head of the amberjack. All the same techniques with the meat I done with the fish. Now is typical for a lot of chef, but 30 years ago I was the first to prepare this special recipe. And in 2003 I opened in Senigallia, Anikò, and was the first charcuterie of the fish in the world.
Fascinating people with stories to share, fabulous wines and the best local foods to accompany them, and beautiful places to discover and visit. All of this and more on Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast. Join me for a new episode every Tuesday. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today we travel to the Adriatic coast, to the seaside town of Marzocca di Senigallia in the region of Le Marche, to meet my guest, 2 Michelin star chef Moreno Cedroni of the acclaimed La Madonnina del Pescatore restaurant, which he and his wife Mariella created and have been running for the past 42 years. La Madonnina is located virtually on the beach, opposite a small fisherman's shrine, so that when you're dining, you cannot help but be aware of the Adriatic Sea. Chef Moreno, we met last week when I had a fabulous lunch with you that really bowled us all over for its originality and creativity, for the intensity of flavors, and I think for me, above all, for the playfulness and the enjoyment behind the whole experience. Grazie mille, bravo, and thank you very much for being my guest this morning. How are you today?
Fine, thank you, Mark. You are an ambassador for the Italian flavor with all of these guests that arrive in the restaurant with you. We enjoy, like your guest last week, to prepare traditional and modern recipe together.
Well, it was a wonderful experience, and we spent 8 days just in Le Marche, exploring Le Marche from south Ascoli Piceno up to the north, and it's beautiful to really get in depth within Le Marche, this region that still remains quite hidden and unknown. But our visit to you was certainly one of the highlights. Moreno, I'm going to ask you to first of all, take us to Marzocca di Senigallia, because our listeners are located around the world. Many of them may not have been to Le Marche or along this Adriatic coast. So can you describe where you are, please?
I was born in this small city 72 years ago, and I was born in front of the sea, and I remain all my life in front of the sea. My mother and my grandmother cooked very, very well, and I learned this flavor. I am lucky because these regions is small, very rich of product from the sea, from the near the hill in a small mountain. There is the truffles. There are a lot of cheese, and is a perfect regions to prepare a good recipe. Also, for me, the best regions is Campania or Sicily, but Marche is very, very interesting.
Yes, and so this is your home region, and you're working and living virtually where you were born. Did you always know that you wanted to be a chef, that you wanted to pursue this career, this creative career?
I opened in 1984, and I begin like a waiter because when I was 15 years old, I began to do the waiter on summertime. And from 1984 to 1992, I was a perfect waiter. With I studied all the wine. perfect sommelier. In 1992 arrived Mariella, then after became my wife, and I said, "Now you are perfect for the room. You can remain with the guest." And I try to enter in the kitchen. And for the first 2 years, I had only the aprons without the typical chef jacket. And step by step, I begin to cook well every day. The day after was better than the day before. Then in 1999, I made a stage to Ferran Adrià, Il Bulli. This stage changed all my view. When I return, I try to change my philosophy step by step. I try to change the recipe, but the tradition was very, very hard. And every step was gradually. For example, in 1995, risotto was incredible for the guests that enter in the restaurant, don't find the risotto. But I try to prepare other recipes. And you taste last week gnocchetti. Gnocchetti was a recipe of 1987, a very old recipe, but very, very good.
Oh, that's amazing. So you began, first of all, in the front of house and then became inspired to be the chef yourself. Moreno, you began La Madonnina del Pescatore 42 years ago. And in those early years, you were cooking, the restaurant was serving the traditional foods of the Adriatic seaside, the foods that the restaurants along the beaches of the Adriatic were serving. And then you decided to enter into the kitchen yourself, inspired by that important stage you did with Ferran Adrià at El Bulli. And then everything began to change. Is that right?
Yes, yes. When I begin in 1984, 42 years ago, I had some human chef that know the traditional recipe very, very well. It's like to eat at home. Was a traditional recipe. Those chef cooked very, very well. And after 8 years in 1992, when arrived Mariella to work like a waiter, I said, "Okay, Mariella, now you remain with the guest," and I try to go to the kitchen. Day by day, I begin to do. I try to do the chef without the jacket, but only with the apron. And I think that after 1 year, I understand that was my favorite passion to cook. And I begin step by step to do small, to change the local recipe, but remain some of the old plate. For example, grigliata, the grilled fish that is typical in Marche regions, to put the fish on the bread and the parsley before to cook on the grill. I suppose that only 10 years ago I live from the menu the grilled fish because it was impossible to to leave. The guest wanted the grilled fish.
Okay. The menu you created for us was called Ricordi di Infanzia, childhood memories. And I think that this really was a menu that demonstrated how you followed your belief in that tradition, that Adriatic tradition that was the foods you grew up with at home that your mother and your grandmother cooked, but also which you were serving and all of the restaurants along the Adriatic were serving. But you talk about tradition allied or driven by creativity. And because your creativity is gone in many directions, and that's what makes a visit to La Madonnina del Pescatore, such an exciting experience. I'm just going to mention that our meal, for example, began with an ice cream cone. I guess an ice cream cone like we might have if we were strolling along having a passeggiata along the Adriatic seafront. Only this ice cream cone, the gelato was made with anchovies. We already knew then that this was going to be a unique dining experience. Tell us about this gelato with Alice.
When I learned to prepare ice cream, I don't remember, near 1990. I went in a school near Venice. When I finished the course, thought, but ice cream, sweet ice cream is simple. I tried to do salty ice cream, and anchovies ice cream was the first of my salty ice cream. And remember the flavor of bread, butter, and anchovies. And is an old recipe that I have in the menu with the best plate of these 42 years.
Oh gosh, that so all of the foods that we had were the classics of the 42 years, and there was always such a playfulness about your cuisine. I think if I could describe the experience to anyone who asks me what it's like to dine at La Madonnina del Pescatore, I would say it is joyful cuisine. It's food that makes one happy, but I think it also makes you happy. I think your pleasure seems to come in doing extraordinary playful things with food that brings back through the flavors this link to where you are, to the Adriatic Sea, to your traditional roots. Another dish that I think above all struck me, Moreno, was one of the most famous dishes along the Adriatic, of course, is brodetto. And your brodetto is very, very different. Can you tell us about the brodetto inside?
Yes, Brudetto is one of the more older recipe, and was a mom recipe. Generally begin with onion chopped, extra virgin olive oil, and some acidity like vinegar, then tomato. And generally in the original recipe there are 12 types of fish: simple fish, power fish. Now I reproduce the same flavors, but I put all the fish and the sauce inside a pan brioche. Is a typical techniques of the street food in Asia. There is a fusion. There is a technique for the Asia and the flavor from the Adriatic coast. It's very interesting for the guest to eat this pan brioche like a scarpetta inside the sauce.
That was the joy of it because we had the broth in the dish, the flavors of the Adriatic, but then this brioche, a spherical brioche that we could tear apart, and all of that wonderful bounty of the Adriatic Sea was within the bread. And then, as you say, we could fare la scarpetta, we could mop up all those juices with the delicious brioche. It was a delightful dish. We really, really enjoyed it. Moreno, your cuisine, above all, is a celebration of the Adriatic. The Adriatic is different from the Tyrrhenian or the Ionian seas. It's very different from the sea where I live. I live near the English Channel, which leads into the cold Atlantic. What is it that is so special about the seafood of the Adriatic?
Yes, we don't have big fish from the rocks like Tyrrhenian, but we have small fish from the sand, the sole, for example, all the blue fish like the anchovies, the mackerel was very interesting, and the squillamantis, this like prawn, very very good. And the bigger fish are from the sands, are the turbo. The turbo is my favorite fish. And
Mm.
on summertime, there is the amberjack. Amberjack is incredible fish, and sometimes some tuna, not too bigger, but some tuna. But the sole, mackerel, anchovies are the common fish that all the people in the morning went in the market, in the fish market, and to prepare the lunch or the dinner.
Okay.
So the clams are very good, and the cuttlefish is incredible. Now is the period of the cuttlefish, and are very good. The sea snail,
Oh, the sea.
typical recipe with the wild fennel and tomato, and is another mother recipe.
Oh, come si chiama the sea snail in Italiano?
Sea snail, lumachina.
Ah, lumachine. Okay. Of course, Moreno, it's the way you transform this bounty of the Adriatic that is most exciting. And you like to challenge diners, I think. I remember a few years ago with you being served I think it was a plate of penne with cuttlefish. And to eat it, we were offered a long pincer or a tweezers utensil. We were puzzled at first, but then I realized that this strange utensil made us carefully taste and appreciate every single bite, every morsel. It made us really appreciate everything that was on the plate. You like to challenge people, don't you?
Yes, and it's interesting that the Italian people, for example, eat everything with the fork. And with the fork, you finish the plate in a few seconds.
Yes, yes. Especially pasta. Yes.
Yes, in this way, you must eat one pinna for moment, and it's incredible the flavor. And also was very interesting. The with the sea urchin was this pasta, and with the grilled
Ah,
herbs from the sea garden that we cook on the grill. Is incredible flavor, and the smoked flavor is incredible. And for example, this year I leave this plate. Sometimes I said, but I have a good plate, a beautiful plate, a very good plate, and I must leave from the menu because there are other plate that coming.
I can imagine people want to return again and again to these favorites. Now, Moreno, on a previous visit, I went a few doors down the road with you to see your laboratorio, what you call the tunnel, which is your culinary workshop. That's a vital part of your work, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about what goes on in the tunnel.
I done the tunnel in 2018, and when I went to my colleagues in Copenhagen or in Spain, a lot of colleague has some laboratory near the kitchen, and I try to do the same with special instruments like dry fries machine, or like rotavapor, or like ultrasound, and also special rooms to dry age fish. And now in these rooms, I put only the fish bones. Is interesting. The last work that I do in this moment.
Okay, and so it would be here that you make, for example, the salumi di pesce.
Yes, I was the first in Italy 30 years ago to begin to prepare the charcuterie of the fish, I salumi di pesce, and for example, tuna bresaola or tuna swordfish, mortadella with cuttlefish and swordfish, the sausages with sea bass, and the coppa. Coppa is prepared with the head of the pork, and I prepared with the head of the amberjack. All the same the techniques with the meat I done with the fish, and now is a typical for a lot of chef. But 30 years ago, I was the first to prepare this special recipe. And in 2003, I opened in Senigallia, Anikò, and was the first charcuterie of the fish in the world.
Ah, okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about Anikò and also Clandestino, because these are two other Moreno Cedroni restaurants, always in the same area, in Senigallia with Anikò and Clandestino in Porto Novo.
Yes, Clandestino opened in 2000. I work in Clandestino about around raw fish, and I called Clandestino Susci Bar, but sushi without H, like
Ah,
Italian people
yeah.
said. And in Anikò in 2003 is I prepare street food. Is in the center of the city. I begin with the charcuterie of the fish. I begin with the panini with the fish.
Ah.
Before nobody prepare panini with the fish.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So really, really exciting places to sample your creations in addition to, of course, La Madonnina. Has over these 42 years, Moreno, your cuisine has evolved immensely, but I love that in the Ricordi di Infanzia, some of the dishes go back to the early days. But how have people's tastes and dining expectations change, your own clientele? Have you found that that's also been a big change? Because 42 years is a very long time.
But the flavor are the same. For example, gnocchetti from 1987, the flavor is the same. Change, for example, the texture of the gnocchetti
Hmm.
increase, became better. But in all the plate, in Brodetto, the flavor is the same of a mother recipe. Then I change the way to prepare or the way to put in the plate.
Yes. Yes. I think that's what's so important because this intensity of flavors of the Adriatic with your own signature additions, the herbs from the sea garden directly in front of the restaurant, which have that salty wind on them coming directly off the sea, add that special flavor that is part of the experience as well. And also, I sense, Moreno, that after 42 years, you are getting as much pleasure and joy out of being in your restaurant with Mariella, the two of you working together still, and you're in the restaurant and you're enjoying seeing people enjoy what you've created. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. It's important that every actor of the restaurant enjoy itself. And we just done 42 years. I don't know if we can work in another 42 years, but but every year we work with the same energy and same smile that we had when I begin to work. Is the same is the same energy.
Yes, and same sense of joy and enjoyment. I particularly liked it when you brought out the Zabaione Ghiacciatissimo for us, doing that in front of us with the liquid nitrogen. Tell us about this.
Yes, in 1999 I made this stage to Ferran Adrià, and I learned to use the liquid nitrogen, and for me was incredible, incredible thing. And from 2000, I think that every year I use nitrogen with the Zabaione. And the first time I give the Zabaione to the guest by a finger, but
Ah,
was very cold, and now
yes.
we prepare to put in the plate.
Oh, yes. Yes, and it's quite a dramatic because the nitrogen is smoking, the Zabayon goes in and immediately becomes Ghiacciatissimo. And we all just delighted in watching it, but it also in the pleasure that you still get after all these years in doing this, in delighting the people that are dining with you.
The very important thing that Zabaione has two important techniques: the siphon by Ferran Adrià and liquid nitrogen by Aston Blumenthal and Ferran Adrià together. Was
Oh,
2002,
okay.
and they begin with the two important different projects.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's fascinating how that comes together. Moreno, you mentioned that you began in the front of house and also serving the wine. Wine pairing is very important at La Madonnina, and we had a wonderful selection of wines with the menu suggested, based on tradition as well as on wines from areas I didn't expect. We had some beautiful Verdicchio from Castelli di Jesi, not far from where you are, but we also had wines from New Zealand. We had a yuzu margarita. So that pairing of drinks, wines is really important to the experience, isn't it?
The pairing is very important in the menu. Only in Italy, only Marchesi said that was important to drink only water, but the pairing is very, very important. When I was 20, I studied a lot the wine. I became also a sommelier. And I like a lot to do to the guest prevalently local wine. Verdicchio is now is a good wine, but when I opened the restaurant in 1984, I don't know if you remember Fazie Battaglia Verdicchio, the amphora
The amphora, yes, of course.
was the only famous Verdicchio. In this year, a lot of people produce a very very good wine like Villabucci is incredible wine, and I like to serve local wine, but it's important also to combine the wine of different regions. For example, okay, good Verdicchio, but we serves also a good Sauvignon from New Zealand. Oh, we also serves a good Chenin from France. And oh, why not a cocktail with a plate? And it's important for the guest that we can study. The guest is all the five senses are involved in the dinner.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that drinks pairing really did enhance the experience. Explained very well by your young sommelier who talked us through the wines as well as your team talking us through all of the dishes. Moreno, I have a final question for you. You have created a restaurant that is unique, a restaurant that is a destination that is not only thrived for the past 42 years, but which has worked its way into the hearts and minds of people who love it. For you, what is the secret? What is the most important thing to being successful in hospitality?
Oh, the secret is simple. We have the hospitality inside. We like a lot to that our guest will be happy, and we work every day to do this. Mm.
I sense that immediately, and you make people very happy. And I think it's that sense of joy that it makes you happy to make guests happy. I've really enjoyed the experiences. I've been to La Madonnina, but I've really enjoyed learning more about it with our conversation. So I really want to thank you for being my guest today. I know we've had some technical issues with this recording, but it's been a real pleasure to meet up again, and I can't wait to return. So grazie mille, Moreno.
Thank you, Mark. It's important to know people like you that love Italian food, Italian wine.
Grazie, grazie. Non vedo l'ora di tornare. Grazie.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
We hope today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast has transported you to somewhere special. Please remember to like, share and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.